Okay, let's see what we can do. Let's do this.
Disease expert who's involved in leading our response.
Back that up.
Everyone, and thanks for joining. I'm here today with Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's the director of the National Institute for Allergies and Infectious Disease, and is the nation's top infectious disease expert who's involved in leading our response against the coronavirus. So, Dr. Fauci, thank you so much for joining today. And
this isn't live. Looks like I'm 3 hours late. Looks like you talked for 40 minutes. First thing I want to say actually is this is garbage. I don't care what is about to be said. It's going to be a joke. These people aren't serious. This man on the right, he can't even keep a straight face. Okay? So, yeah, this is pathetic. It's a social media psyop fucking social experiment, okay? Trust me. All right, these people don't have credentials that matter. They don't. I don't care what he is. Okay, these people are puppets. They are intended for situations like this because they know the average citizen will listen and believe whatever they say, and that's why they're used. Okay, these guys are frauds. Guarantee you he's a Mason. Okay, guarantee it.
I was hoping that we could just get started. Maybe you could tell us about where we are with this situation overall. Where are we with the spread of this and the overall government response?
Well, we are certainly still in the escalation phase of this outbreak, Mark.
The first thing I want to say is he looks like a specific, I can't even say it because you get screened and it'll go against community standards. So just look at the guy on the right and tell me what you think about it. And just think about what he looks like. Your typical, you know what, okay? So I'm not telling you what to think. I'm not putting anything in your head. I'm asking you to take a look at him and listen to his voice. And out of all of the Hollywood movies you've ever seen in your life, tell me what he resembles to you. That was a hint. The hint is Hollywood. Ironically. I mean, so ironically.
As you know, globally, different countries are at different phases of the outbreak. China got hit very early on, which was the origin of where the virus first came out in Wuhan.
He's nervously fidgeting.
Are we okay? Yeah.
He hasn't said anything that we don't already know. Look at him fidget. Look at his face. Look at his eyes. He's under a trance. He probably just popped some what do they give you before certain surgeries? Not a Xanax, but like a Klonopin or something, like an Ativan or something. Oh yeah, trust me. Those eyes are benzo eyes. Those are benzo eyes.
Yeah, the virus first came out on Wuhan, and then it seeded different countries. We had a seeding of it here, and the first cases were travel-related cases. And then what you might expect to happen, which has happened in multiple countries throughout the world, that you have then secondary and tertiary cases. So right now, we've gone from a handful of cases just, a few months ago until right now where we have, close to 10,000 cases, over 150 deaths.
Oh my God, did he just say 10,000 cases? Where? Not here.
Worldwide.
Oh.
There are close to, if not already reached, about 200,000 cases and close to around
he is full of shit.
10,000 deaths. The epicenter of
those are lies. Where are they? Where's the bodies? Where are the bodies? Who are the people? Nobody knows them. It's a lie, and this is propaganda. And I'm telling you right now, you need to wake up and see right through this, because it's propaganda. It's not news. This is Facebook. You don't get to act in the name of official. Okay, this is Facebook social media. This is not the worldwide freaking official news agency. This is Facebook. Okay?
this has shifted from China, which dominated the infection numbers.
I'm sorry to ramble. I'm sorry, but this is the beginning of a set of major psyops where you are going to be conditioned to look at Facebook as your number one go-to, as if you already, as if you aren't already. But you're going to be like, I saw it on Facebook. It has to be real. Mark Zuckerberg brought them in, and it's the official. And they're conditioning you right now. This is a conditioning. They're molding you right now, and they want you to use Facebook because it can't be YouTube, and it can't be Instagram. Okay, because that's just a different format. That's a different type of format. So they're conditioning you to use, because more people use Facebook than TV. And then YouTube is just already the base station for too much real truth. And they're scrambling to comb through that shit and remove videos. They've removed mine easily, plenty. I made videos about them censoring me. So, I mean, even on Facebook, they will not let you even post any pictures and talk about history if the pictures include certain shapes. Now, I can't tell you what it is. I can't even tell you what it is. That's how disgusting this is. That's how bad they're violating our rights. I'm an American citizen with a right to free press and a right to free speech, and they're still telling me I can't talk about certain things or share a picture of a shape. And I'll give you a clue. Just think about World War II and just think about a certain shape that nobody likes. Yeah, you can't even share anything about the origin of that shape, what the ancients used, the stars, the formations of the Big Dipper in the Four Seasons. You can't even talk about that. Apparently, so we don't. The reason I'm talking is because nobody cares what this guy's going to say.
The mortality early on, so that they've now come down in their peak to the point that there are relatively few new cases in China, and the epicenter has now shifted to Europe, particularly countries like Italy and France and others. So it is truly a pandemic. It's in 150 plus countries throughout the world. It's in every state in the United States, and we are still every day we get more and more cases, and we'll continue to get more and more cases. But the response to that, which we can get into a little bit, is going to mitigate how bad this is going to get and how much the peak is going to be.
Yeah, so before we get into that, maybe you could just talk for a minute about what are the projections that you're currently seeing? What do people expect in the United States and Western Europe and the countries where there are currently outbreaks that are growing very quickly? What can people expect in terms of how this will affect their communities, how this will grow, how this will affect them?
Well, first, let's see what the virus is going to do, and then you could kind of extrapolate that into what the...
Where Yeah, so before we get into that, maybe you could just talk for a minute about what are the projections that you're currently seeing? What do people expect in the United States, in Western Europe, in the countries where there are currently outbreaks that are growing very quickly? What can people expect in terms of how this will affect their communities, how this will grow, how this will affect them?
Well, first, let's see what the virus is going to do, and then you could kind of extrapolate that into what the impact would be on the country. If the virus is left to its own devices, you will see a major, major peak, which will then turn around and come on down. In China, even with their major, rather draconian efforts to contain it, they got off, I wouldn't say to a bad start, but it was a start where they were not expecting it. And it took them...
Their communities, how this will grow, how this will affect them.
Well, first, let's see what the virus is going to do, and then you could kind of extrapolate that into what the impact would be on the country. If the virus is left to its own devices, you will see a major, major peak, which will then turn around and come on down. In China, even with their major, rather draconian efforts to contain it, they got off, I wouldn't say to a bad start, but it was a start where they were not expecting it. And it took them about 2.5 months to get to the point now where there are very few cases in China. Europe, particularly Italy, is right now in the phase that they're still accelerating. So they've had a few weeks of an acceleration. They've not been able to contain it. So the same thing likely will happen, somewhere around 8 weeks or so until it goes down enough that you could feel you're almost out of the woods. We now are still in the escalation phase. How high that gets, Mark, and how long it's going to take to turn around is going to be very much dependent upon how successfully we do containment and mitigation, the kinds of physical separations of people that have now been part of the guidelines. It's rather disruptive of society, certainly is. It's inconvenient, but it's that kind of thing that's going to determine. So right now, if we do well and we're really successful, at a minimum, it's going to be several weeks.
Shut up. I'm going to go wherever I want. I'm going to fucking eat wherever I want. I'm going to do what I normally do, which is keep myself clean and do basic hygiene. And I'm not going to worry about a goddamn thing because we're all going to be like, what the fuck was that? When this is all done, when this so-called official news finally says, oh, we can go back to doing what we normally do now, it's okay. Do we really need somebody to tell us that? Because if you need a TV screen to tell you how to live your life, you're a fucking idiot. Why don't you just take your eyes away from the screen right now, go outside and look around, and tell me what kind of pandemic you see. Okay, bullshit. Bullshit. Okay? I've already seen fake efforts online to try and mock up fake scenarios where people are being rolled into hospitals through the lobby. They fucked that one up because that's not what you do. You go in through the back, through the ER, not through the lobby. And there was nobody in the fucking ER either. There was like one guy acting like he was sick. Or just not even that, just standing there. And then he was late to taking his seat. And he went over to the seat he was assigned. And there was 2 cameramen in the lobby. And they rolled in as fast as they could. And then as soon as they thought they were clear, where the cameras wouldn't see, they all stopped. They all started walking. And just slowed down. It was sad.
Yeah, well, some of the projections that I've seen suggest that more than 50% of people might end up being exposed to this over the next year or so. Are those the projections that you're seeing, or how much do you think that depends on how the response goes?
Look at the.
Well, that's a great question, Mark, and it really depends upon how successfully we mitigate in the sense of physical separation while the virus is essentially going free in society. Because if you can mitigate well, I think that 50% is a high number. In fact, even in some of the pandemics, you're down to 15, 20, 25%. A number of 50, if you do nothing to mitigate it, you may get there. But if you do some of the things that we're doing right now, I doubt if it's going to be 50. You never can tell because it's a new virus, but I would be surprised if it went that high.
We're done. This is just...
All right, so some parts of the country now have these shelter-in-place orders or guidance.
It's not what they're saying. It's the fact that they're talking about it that is so intrusive to the human mind. It's the fact that they're on Facebook talking about it and making it look official and making it look like you need up-to-the-minute reports and that it needs to be this serious, that that some punk kid that is the poster boy puppet for who supposedly made Facebook all of a sudden brought you is hosting the top guy that you should listen to. It's like they're trying to make it look official, like a White House thing, like as if this is what you're supposed to be watching if you want truth, if you want a real update. I don't know how to even put it. I wasn't even prepared to put in my own words how you're supposed to critically critique this. You have to use your critical thinking here. Okay, there is nothing official about this. It's just some guy, and then on the other side, it's just some guy who has a good memory and made it through college, many years of it, and he knows the right people, and he was probably born into the right family, and he's been running the life game his whole life, and now he's at the top, and that's all he is. He's not like the guy that is going to tell you how this is going to go or how it's supposed to go or any of that shit. Nothing he says matters because nothing he says is going to happen. And then Mark wants to throw in something about I saw numbers that look like 50%. It's all about poisoning your ears, okay, and poisoning your eyes and your mind, and people are going to take it and it's going to seed in them. It's going to brew in them, okay? It's just what they're saying hardly even matters. It's the fact that they're doing this, and it's sick.